Okay, so here we go again with Loser Donald. Now, this is a scam that he's running in the middle of the campaign. Now, there's two particularly egregious parts of this. One is he's ripping people off, and the other is, again, what kind of two-bit scam artist needs to rip people off on his presidential campaign and possibly get in trouble? Now, what billionaire would bother to do this? Guy doesn't have that much money. He just doesn't. All right, so let me explain. So while Trump is running for president, he's got his campaign headquarters at Trump Tower, which I'm not sure is a smart move. It's probably a less expensive place to do it. Anyway, it turns out it's actually reasonable rent during the primaries. But that's because he was paying the great majority of the money out of his own pocket in the primaries. So for rent in March during the primaries, he paid $35,458 to Trump Tower. Now that's going to go back into his pocket anyway, but he wants to keep it reasonable because there's some other people that are involved in Trump Tower, and so he doesn't want to overpay in that regard when he's doing the paying. Now, during the general election, that's a different story. It's not his money anymore. It's the donor money that's paying for the great majority of it. So how much rent does he charge now for the same space at Trump Tower? $169,758. It's about 5 times what he was charging just a couple of months ago. Because now, again, a lot of that money goes back into Trump's pocket. So he's like, oh, I'm not paying for it, but I am getting most of it. Oh, yeah. Now, did I say $35,000? No, rent just went up over the last couple of months to $169,000. But, you know, if you're a donor to Donald Trump, you had it coming. It's not like we didn't warn you. The guy's a professional scam artist. It's a giant con game. So you're being conned. He's taking your money and putting it in his pocket. And he's thinking, wow, I paid a lot out of my pocket in the primary. I got to get paid for this. Hey, donors, you idiots, give me your money. I'm going to steal it. And by the way, if you think making the rent 5 times higher in a matter of months isn't stealing it, you're wrong. That's when you say to a donor, give me money for my campaign. And instead of spending the money on the campaign to get elected, presumably to fight for the principles they care about, you put the money in your pocket. Yeah, that's a form of theft. Okay. No, wait, now let's be fair. You say, hey, maybe this is a general election. He's got a lot more employees. He had to have more office space at the Trump Tower. So, okay, so they looked into that. Turns out in March, he had 197 employees. So in the general election in July, he had 172 employees. Less, not more. He actually needed less space, but he timed the rent by 5 anyway. Well, here's a Republican National Committee member who's also a Trump supporter. And here's what he says. If I was a donor, I'd want answers. If they don't have any more staff and they're paying 5 times more, that's the kind of stuff I'd read and try to make an attack ad out of. Yeah. So there's so many things they do attack ads on Donald Trump on. I don't know if the Hillary Clinton people are going to get to it. But to me, this isn't about Democrat versus Republican. This is about if you're a Republican and you're giving money to Donald Trump, you're just his next mark. He views you as a useful idiot. Look at that. Like the guys who signed up at Trump University thinking they were going to get a real education. Instead, I gave them teachers who didn't know anything about real estate, and I gave them a cardboard cutout of me to pose next to. Idiots! That's what Trump thinks of you. He just thinks, oh, that's the next stupid guy that I'm going to scam. Go ahead, keep giving him money, see how that turns out. Now, the Trump Tower is not the only scam he's running on donors. In addition to the rent for Trump Tower space in Manhattan, Trump has paid his eponymous golf courses and restaurants more than $260,000 since his campaign, and the RNC struck a joint fundraising deal in mid-May after he essentially locked up the GOP nomination. So there's a lot to that, but let me just quickly summarize that as Trump says, hey, I got to do a press conference. Now, it's good that he does press conferences. Hillary Clinton doesn't do enough of them. But he could do them anywhere. I mean, he could do them for relatively cheap. He's like, no, you got to do it at my golf course. That one's going to cost $40,000. All right, donors, give me $40,000 to do a press conference at my own golf course. You're such a sucker if you're giving him money. All right, that's not all. One last one for you. Trump continues to fly to campaign events on his personal Boeing 757 airliner, even though the aging jet burns some $10,000 in fuel every hour. That has made air travel one of the biggest expense categories for his campaign. In July alone, $495,000 went to Trump's company that owns the plane. Again, funneling money back to himself and spending it in outrageous ways. So some of this donor money comes from billionaires, and I couldn't care less about them. In fact, this story warms my heart. Selfish Republican donors who want to fix the system and bribe politicians have their money stolen by Donald Trump. Great. Couldn't feel happier about it. But some of it comes in the form of small donations from Republican voters. Hey guys, you think I disagree with you, so I'm against you. No. I don't want you to waste your money. So save it, give it to other conservative causes that might actually be effective. Then we'll have a real debate and we'll have a democracy and it'll be great, and either you can win that debate, but I doubt it. I'll probably win it. But that's okay. But I don't want your money to be stolen by this two-bit scam artist. Which then leads me to why this isn't a Loser Donald segment. Like I said in the beginning, which billionaire is running scams like this? Imagine Bill Gates being like, oh, I got an idea. I'll run for office and then I'll charge more for my rent than I should, and I'll make an extra $100,000 that way. What? Bill Gates doesn't need to make an extra $100,000 that way. That's because the guy's worth tens of billions of dollars. And Trump isn't. He says he's worth $10 billion. Nobody worth $10 billion, nobody worth $1 billion would bother to run a scam like this where you might actually get in a lot of legal trouble. And when exposed, it's obviously going to hurt your campaign. But he can't help himself because he doesn't have that much money. He's like, oh, give me. Well, I'll take $50,000 there. I'll take $100,000 there. And then I'll ride around in these ridiculous jets to puff myself up and look great. And then I'll scam as much money as I can from people. That is not what a billionaire does. Right or wrong, the billionaires of the world already made their money. They don't need to do stuff like this. You know who needs to do stuff like this? A sad two-bit loser like Donald Trump. This is not going to end well for him. At some point, somebody's going to hold him accountable. It might be the law. It might be his own donors. Somebody's going to. I hope that it is in a legal way and in an electoral way. So how much can you steal from people before at some point you face some sort of legal consequences? Well, we'll see what happens. You want to watch the whole 2-hour show, Young Turks, anytime you want, anywhere you want, any way you want, no commercials? I know what you're thinking.
People should die. They want Tony Snow to die. Cheney to die.
That's not what I meant at all. Nonetheless, become a member, tyrtnetwork.com/join.